that presentation was many years ago. I got up and talked. They just asked me, what do you think about this lodge and masonry? I said, well, let's see. I started out explaining how an entered apprentice is the beginning, and the man is learning the craft, and he's learning the rules and regulations of masonry. And then as a fellow craft, he is starting to develop into a learned person of the community and of masonry. And then as a master mason, if you recall the second section of our degree, they teach you how to die. And you don't realize that until you really think about it and how that fits in with the life of a person. We all know that we're born to die. And the only problem is most people don't think about the termination. They think about what is transpiring to get there. And this was what my presentation was all about.
That's excellent. I like that. And let me get rid of this chair because it's too it's too squeaky.
Here, you can.
No, you're fine.
Well, I'll tell you.
Well, look, why don't we trade and you take this chair and I'll take the squeaky one, but I'll be out of the way. And that way,
I was going to say, if you want to be comfortable, you want to have a little padding. Because
well, I don't have as much padding as I used to have. So.
Yeah.
He knows.
All right, let me do some marking. Okay. Right Honorable Fletcher, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. We thought it would be a great idea to take a few minutes, sit down, and talk about the journey, your journey as a man and a Mason, but also that journey within Eola. Yeah. You've been witness to many faces of the fraternity in these last few generations, and also the evolution of Eola Lodge here in Orlando, Florida. So thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us.
My pleasure. Like I say, I hope I can give you what you're looking for.
We've already, in a very few minutes, even before starting recording, I think we've gotten some very, very great benefits from the conversation. Right Honorable, we wanted to start, first of all, with a little bit of introduction about who you are as a man, what your life, just in a brief summary, what your life has been like thus far.
Yeah. Well, I began this journey through life in Memphis, Tennessee. That was to be close to my mother. She lived there with my dad, John B. Sr., and her name was Ruth Margaret. And my mother was a gentle person, a good cook, and during the Depression, she was able to provide a number of members of our family with a place to stay at times, always a dinner table, and plenty of food. She would can food so that she could prepare a meal in just a few minutes and put it on the table, and everybody would enjoy it. As a little fellow, I can remember that table. It was a 12-foot rounder, and it was always full. We had anywhere from 6 to 8 people every dinner. And Mom was real fine at providing for those people when they needed it. We had aunts and cousins, and all kinds of people.
Let me ask you something. Have you noticed? I think in some of the younger families of this generation,
Yeah.
that is a value that is not as prevalent as it once was. Sitting at the table in family all together, even including members of the extended family like cousins and aunts, that is something that seems to be becoming a little bit more rare.
Yeah.
What would you say what are the benefits of a family that has the option of actually sitting at the table with the family? What are the benefits that they would have out of that?
First of all, you get to know these people, and you get to know some of their difficulties that they're having, excuse me, through life, and you can always learn from them. There's a lot of knowledge in these people. They're older. They've lived a hard life, most of them, and it's just good to be with people that are like that. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed my cousins. They were the same age as I am, was at the time, and we all enjoyed playing with each other and just having fun. Actually, I continued to live in Memphis, Tennessee, until I was about 19 years old. I graduated from Memphis Tech High School, and at the age of 18, and I began college at the college up in Virginia Polytechnic Institute, and they call it short VPI. It's a great school. It was a military school. I had a year of ROTC in the college, and I had 3 years of ROTC in high school. I intended to be a officer, if I could be, in the service, and was particularly interested in the Air Corps. So my freshman year in college, I joined then it was the Air Corps of the United States. It was a part of the Signal Corps, and I joined in Virginia, and then I finished the first year and was about to begin the second, and I got a call and said that they wanted me to report to the post office in Richmond, Virginia, and that I was going in the Air Force, Air Corps then. And I said, okay. So I packed up and went to Richmond, and then they sent me to Nashville, Tennessee, by way of Florida. So I
shortcut.
I sat outside of Tallahassee, Florida, on the railroad tracks for about 2 or 3 hours waiting for the engine to come pick us up and take us to Nashville. But can you imagine going that far just to get to a place that's 200 miles from where you started?
That's incredible.
It was a roundabout, I guess, close to 1,500 miles.
Wow.
And
did you have other people with you that you knew, or?
Well, no, not really, because these were people all from Virginia,
okay,
Georgia, Alabama, that had joined up, and they went up there to join the Air Force. We ended up in Nashville at the Air Force Base there, right outside of Nashville, Tennessee, where they gave you tests to determine what position you were eligible for. I qualified for pilot training, navigation, bombardiering, whatever they could put me in. And so, right in the middle of being qualified and meted out, so to speak, we had a outbreak of some catchable disease, and they quarantined the base for about 3 weeks, and I ended up being a navigator. I went to Selman Field, Monroe, Louisiana, for basic training. Took gunnery training at Fort Myers, Florida, and then returned to Selman Field for advanced training in navigation. I flew in B-17s in World War II, 50 missions out of Italy, a place called Foggia. And we flew over Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. I had 2 mercy missions into Romania to pick up repatriated U.S. people. The Russians had taken Ploesti and Bucharesti, and they were freeing these people. So I got to see some Russians. I got to see some aircraft that has been used against us, because there's an ME-109 on the, that's a Messerschmitt in case you don't know. ME-109 on the field, and it was a beautiful piece of machinery. This is a German airplane, and they had a lot of chrome on it, just a beautiful thing. And it was a good fighter aircraft, a good opponent. We flew 2 missions in. We had rigged our bomb bay so that the people could set in the bomb bay and be transported in the B-17. And
you have to make sure you didn't press the wrong button and
that's quite an experience in of itself. I guess the most dangerous missions that I was on was into Poland at Ploesti, and we flew in there, and I think the gunners had their diplomas wrapped around the gun barrels of their anti-aircraft guns, because they were really good.
Yeah, that's good.
They got quite a few of us.
Did you have, in that particular mission, did you have also escort of fighters, or was it mainly?
Oh yes, we had P-50s, 52s, and P-51s as escort, P-38s as escort, and they all flew out of Italy. They would catch us just as we were entering Germany after flying over the Alps, and would escort us in, but they would not cross that line from the IP, the initial point, where we made our bomb runs.
That's very
into
interesting.
the target.
I just saw a P-51 today.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have the fortune, I live nearby an airport that has a historical aviation museum.
Private P-51?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they fly quite regularly.
That's another real nice
That's
airplane.
beautiful. I love it.
I had the good fortune of being an instructor in navigation when I came back to the States after my combat tour. They sent me down as a gunnery instructor, would you believe? And I was too young to be a gunnery instructor. I was only 21, and you had to be 22 to be a gunnery instructor. That was just an age thing. So I ended up in operations, and I served in operations down in Texas. I got sent to Mather Field in California as one of the places where I taught, and Eglin Field in Texas. I started out at Eglin and was teaching there until they closed the base. Then we transferred to Selman Field in Louisiana, where I taught for about 6 months, and my first son was born there, my first child.
Oh, wow. How old were you? Around?
I was 22 about the time, yeah. And then we got transferred to California, Ellington, and I taught out there for a while. I've had 2 classes in navigation that I was in charge of. I was a first lieutenant and a captain, and I got my first stateside promotion there, by the way.
Okay.
And I went to they found out that I had a year of engineering, so they put me in engineering. I was in charge of all the real property for a while at Mather. And then came the big riff in 1940, I think it was 46 or 45. And I got out and I joined the active reserves. And while I was in college, I kept my active status. And it was a good thing I did, because later I got credit for it when I retired. And I'm getting a little hoarse, as you can tell.
You need some water?
No, it's okay. Anyway, I was accepted for pilot training and was going to the place where they give you exams just to find out how good you would be. And the big riff came along and closed all the pilot training bases. So I never did become a pilot, but I've got some stake time.
Yeah.
So I know how it feels to fly an airplane.
That's excellent.
Okay.
Would you like a...
No,
We're
it's
here.